Hi again. A short postscript to my last video on Dowie Evans' interview with Raj Persaud. I didn't include this part in the last video, but in his interview with Raj Persaud, Evans mentioned that he knew the consultants had discussed air embolism among themselves. He says that he didn't know this until the end of the trial, however, and during his evidence he denied repeatedly that anyone had mentioned to him that air was suspected as a cause of death, and said that he discovered it himself. It is indeed the case that some of the consultants talked about air embolism among themselves, as seen in this Thirlwall document. In May 2017, Jayram, Breary and Holt are recorded discussing this theory with the police. Jayram is said to be the clinician for at least one of the cases from June 2015, and he was probably so concerned I imagine he had to come back to Chester from filming the one show in Birmingham to deal with it.
The spiralling cost of temporary agency doctors and nurses.
So my question is this. If Evans is telling the truth, why didn't the police tell him about this? He says he asked for any mention of a suspect to be withheld, but he didn't mention asking for explanations to be withheld. In fact, if they allowed him to write reports on the basis of deaths being unexplained, when an explanation had been discussed, surely this is improper, because he's relied on the lack of there being any explanation as part of his process. So you could say, well, he's come to the same conclusion anyway, but that would mean the police took a risk that he diagnosed something completely different based on there being no other explanation. And I'd question how much the police really understand what's going on anyway, based on their own Operation Hummingbird video. The Inchling cases are similar, in that Evans told Raj Persaud that he discovered these readings in further records he was given, and claims he was unaware of there being any prior suspicion about those babies. Yet Breary told Panorama that he discovered them, and Dr. ZA has also claimed to have found them. I can see how it might be a possibility that the police told Evans nothing at first as a form of controlled test, something generally absent from the case. But why in that case would they keep the deception going after he confirmed the consultant's suspicion, and not reveal all at that point? And spotting the number isn't the difficult bit anyway. That part would be ruling out a random glitch or a transposing of the data, which Evans is merely looking at the record does nothing to assist with. So what we seem to be left with in these cases is one of two possibilities. Either Evans lied about finding these things himself without any help, and everyone else has been going along with it on the fatality cases to give a false impression of independence, or the police withheld the doctor's prior suspicions from him, left him with the impression the fatality cases had no proposed explanation, let him write reports on that incorrect understanding, and never told him later that suspicions had already existed, even after he wrote his reports. There's no way for me to know which of these explanations is correct, and I will leave that as an exercise for the viewer.
I was trained by the NHS and I'm committed to my job. But what could I earn as an agency locum? Time to hit the phone.
I'm going to offer myself for a shift I regularly do. A weekend on call as a paediatric consultant.